ammonia or some, it just doesn't. So I give in. That's interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
We actually have a minute or two, so you guys can keep talking. We have a minute or so, but just making sure I'm tuned in here and start. We do need today a strap, and if you like 3 blocks for dolphin, get yourself a 3rd block.
What would you want?
So same thing at home. If you
Get my strap.
You can get a strap handy, and if you like having 3 blocks, doing your dolphin up the wall with 3 blocks behind you, you don't need to have them. It's just optional.
That's funny.
It's Friday. It is Friday the 26th. March just goes on and on and on.
Yes.
Of course, it feels like that every year, doesn't it? Kind of after the short February. So take your time, and if to sit comfortably you need to grab a blanket or 2, sit up on a blanket, do. I think I'm going to today. And see how your hips feel. Let your legs move around. Remember, when you sit cross-legged, if you are cross-legged, you can sit cross-legged any number of ways. You can send your feet more to under your knees. You can sit more cross at your ankles if you feel good. You can even, if you're up, especially like on a blanket like this, kind of sit to the edge and have your heels kind of in a line if that feels comfortable too. So you can play a little bit, just to get really easy in your own hips and how you're sitting. And then just close your eyes and start to be with your own breath. Just enjoy feeling the breath coming in and going out through your nose. See if you can imagine as the breath comes in, you feel that coolness of the air coming in through your nose. And see how it feels warmer when you exhale through your nose. Softly, let your right hand come onto your chest, palm towards your chest, and then put your left hand on top of your right. And then just start to feel, as you breathe, feeling the belly expand when you inhale, feeling that breath coming up to the ribs, maybe even up into your hands on those 3-part breaths. And on your next exhale, go ahead and unfold your arms on down beside you, fingertips lightly touching here onto the floor. And let's inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And exhale our hands right down through the midline to be in front of our chest. And then we'll reverse and inhale the hands right on up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms on back out and down. And let's inhale the arms up a little bit off the floor, hands a little off the floor, and then flex your hands. Let them be pretty well down a little bit though, so that you're pressing down into the heels of your hands a little bit here. And then start to rise the arms up higher so that they come straight out from your shoulders. You're still pressing into the heels of your hands. And then start to bring your arms forward so they come right forward of your shoulders. And then just let the fingertips reach forward so the palms are down. And let's turn the hands, palms away from each other. Thumbs down, pinkies up. Bring one hand on top of the other, doesn't matter which. Clasp your hands, soften your shoulders down. And then send your hands down. Now you can look down at your hands and stay right there. You don't have to come up with the hands. If you feel like you want to bring the hands up through that hole you've created, then let your elbows melt down and then bring your head down to touch your hands there, you can. Where you're actually supporting your head a little bit there with your hands, and right between the eyebrows, just as gently resting there on your hands. One more breath. And then bring the head up if it was down. Go ahead and send your hands back down and through if they were up there. Bring your gaze to your hands there in front of you. Try not to lift your shoulders. Soften them down. And we're going to switch the hands so the other wrist comes on top. The other hand comes on top. So clasp your hands a little bit without tensing up into your shoulders. Like really feel the shoulders releasing down away from your ears. And then as the hands start to lower, go ahead and look at them so that you're bringing your chin down a little bit. And you can stay there, or you can keep continuing on up with the hands through that hole you've created. Bring your forehead onto your hands there, right there between the eyebrows, and then just rest there, breathing in and out. Let your face soften, let go of your jaw. And then we're send the hands right back down again if they were up and bring them on forward again. Keep your gaze there, your focus on your hands. Squeeze the palms a little bit. Let the shoulders melt down. And then we'll undo our hands. We're going to bring our hands behind us. Come onto your fingertips and let yourself, so instead of going way back, be up on your fingertips and then draw your chest a little bit forward and up. Lengthening up through the front of the body. You can look as high up as feels good for your neck. You may want to look forward, or you might want to look up, like where the wall meets the ceiling, or even higher, depending on you. And then we're going to rise to sit on, back up, shake your hands out just a little bit. We're going to switch the cross of our legs. So if you need to stretch your legs out between sides, do. And again, how you cross your legs, totally up to you. If you can't cross because that's uncomfortable in your hips or your knees, then stretch your legs out, right? So sitting nice and tall again. Let yourself come into reaching up through the crown of the head. Nice inhale here. And on the exhale, let's twist to our left. Bring yourself around. Does not matter how far. Just imagine you're really waking your spine up here. And inhaling here. And on the exhale, we're going to come on back through center and go to the other side. So again, release your hands to wherever feels comfortable. Really feel like your back is doing the twisting here, not your arms or your hands. One more inhale. And on the exhale, we're going to come back again and twist to the other side. Now we're going to move with the breath here. Each inhale, lengthen up your spine. And each exhale will carry you around to the other side. So you're moving with your own breath. So now just start to follow your breath from side to side. The exhale carries you to the other side of the twist. And then the next time you exhale, come back and stop at center. And we're going to come forward a little bit. So it's up to you what you need to do with your legs. If you can ease your way forward with that long back, you may decide you want to stay up really high, right? Or you may decide that you want to come farther forward. Adjust your legs if you need. Just be mindful. Let yourself release. If you can move your head a little bit side to side, just turning your head a little bit, if that's okay, do, unless it bothers your back at all, right? Good. One more breath. And then we'll come on back up. Here, stretch your right leg out and just kind of at an angle beside you, not directly in front and not way far to the side, but just a little bit, so that when you come into that leg, being in a comfortable place there, you can come a little tiny bit forward and find your inner thigh. And it doesn't take much. So just coming a little bit forward, feel that right knee and toe facing up towards the ceiling. Feel your inner thigh already there. So you're coming directly forward. Good. One more breath here, just waking it up a little bit. And then walk back up and now twist towards that long right leg. And then come forward over it there. So a little bit different feeling. Be mindful. Remember, if this bothers your left knee, you need to adjust it all new. You can put a block underneath your left knee. Now see if you can stay here, but bring your left hand to your left hip and then turn to open that left shoulder towards the ceiling. And there you get a little bit of a side stretch going on. Good. And we're just going to rise on back up from there. And we're going to switch legs. So again, if this knee feels iffy, put a block under it, bring the foot farther out if you need, right? Whatever works for you where you don't feel any kind of stress in this right knee. And then again, as you come forward, really right away, unless there's some issue for you that you don't feel it, I can't imagine you don't feel your inner thigh, but hey, we're all different. So see if you can get a little stretch there through the inner thigh. Feel the left toes and left knee facing up towards the ceiling. Good. One more breath. And we're going to walk ourselves up. Now we're going to twist towards that left long leg. And then we're going to go out over it a little bit. So let yourself release forward. It doesn't matter how far. Just think about your hands can be on the top of your leg. You can reach down towards your toe if you want. Just be mindful, just coming a little bit more into the hamstring there. Feel a little more through the right side waist. And then let your right hand come to your hip, right hip, and open that right shoulder up. And there you are into more of a side stretch there. Nice. And then we're going to slowly make our way on back up. Bring those legs on out in front of you and kind of move through your feet and your ankles a little bit. Shake your legs out. And we're going to come on around towards hands and knees from here. So, take your time. If you need a blanket for under your knees, get it. And if it feels better to have something under your hands too, by all means, you know. So if you need a blanket under your hands or if you need to come to fists, take your time. Start to ease through your cat-cow when you're ready. Even wiggling around in your cat and cow. Like sometimes you get into cat pose and you want to wag your tail a little bit or shift, you know, just shift your hips side to side and let your shoulders respond, right? Same thing if you're in cat pose. If it feels good to shift around a little bit, turn your head side to side. Maybe shift a little more forward or a little more back. Right, just, you know, you can find all these little places just by playing a little bit. So take your time. Good. And then finish off the one you're on. Come to more neutral spine. And let's curl our toes under and walk ourselves back. Now, you may decide that you want to just come back a little bit. Keep your hands there. Shift your hips back a little towards your heels so that you're stretching out the bottoms of your feet. Some of you might want to sit all the way up. For me, that's usually not a good idea. So the other thing you can do is have your hands down, lift your knees up, and then bring them back down so you actually work a little bit through the feet that way. So, you know, just be mindful. Let it feel like you're really feeling like you're warming up your feet, really the bottoms of the feet, and of course the joints, the toes. Good. And then we'll all come back down, back to all fours, but we're going to step our left foot forward to find lunge. So if you need your blocks, grab your blocks. And come on up into that first lunge. Let yourself feel that alignment now. Right back heel directly behind your foot. enjoy. Find the height you like to be. Use your hands how you need on the floor of the block. So try not to put too much pressure or discomfort into your hands. You can always switch. Fingertips, flat hands, fists. And let's switch legs. So let yourself come to the other side. Bringing that right foot forward. And again, really enjoy finding that alignment, reaching through that back inner heel. Start to draw your awareness to finding your back body in this long diagonal line, including the back of your head in line with your spine. Good, and let's switch again. And from here, let's bring our left hand up to our left hip and roll that shoulder up. You can place your hand on your low back to check your alignment there. If you decide to stretch that top arm up, you can. You know, you might even want to turn to look up. Let the hand come back a little ways and open up a little more in the upper body. And then we'll bring that hand on back down and we're going to switch. So bringing the right foot forward, finding that lunge. Pressing the feet gently away from each other. Feel the belly engaging. And then we'll bring the right hand on up to the hip and then to the low back and roll that shoulder up and let yourself check again the alignment so you're not dropping into that left side too far down. And then if you want to stretch the right arm up, do. And again, maybe you want to turn to look up and let your hand come back a little farther. That's up to you. That's just a little bit of a back bend added there in that twist. And then we'll come on down with our hand and we'll step forward, coming into standing forward bend. Now bend your knees pretty deeply. Let your belly come towards your thighs. Now you know if you need to keep a long back, do. Hands can be on your blocks or elbows can be above your knees. But again, see if you can feel that sense of the belly coming onto the thighs. And then start to come into your forward bend where you're comfortable to be. So if you'd like to come into straighter legs, do. And adjust whatever kind of support you need, use it. You know, sometimes it's fun to use blocks and support your head in these standing forward bends. Different feeling. Sometimes different feelings can help you discover different things, right? So play a little bit. Again, you know, don't use any sort of don't let any sort of discomfort come into the body, especially your back. You know, just make sure you protect your back however you need. Support how you need. And just feel those full deep breaths now, coming into the ribs. One more nice full deep breath. And then we'll bring our hands on up to our hips. We'll bend our knees. We're going to rise on up to standing. And inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. From here, see if you can. Get yourself adjusted. Do what you need to do. And then once you bring your gaze forward, lift your elbows up. Really feel your hands coming together here. Feel the wrists a little bit. Let yourself press down into your feet on the floor. Draw those thighs upward. Just make sure you're not locking your knees. Feel the tailbone dropping down. And then let your elbows soften down. Let your thumbs just come right where they want to come in towards the breastbone. It's almost like they're plugging into a socket. And there's no right or wrong place. It just feels very comfortable and easy to be in your shoulders. Good. And on your next exhale, let the chin come down towards your chest, just looking down towards your hands. And then we'll inhale and rise the head back forward to look forward. And let's tilt our left ear towards our left shoulder and slide our hands over towards the right. And you can go as far as you want. Stay in front of your right shoulder a little bit. And then come back into center, and we'll keep going the other way, right ear towards the right shoulder, left hand, let hands keep going to the left. And then we'll come on back into center again here now. Coming into mountain pose. And let's inhale our hands right up through the midline, and on the exhale, open the arms and come on forward into our standing forward bend. On your next inhale, have your hands on your shins, wrap your hands around your lower legs there. Let your pointer fingers be pointing straight down to the middle of your ankles. And then reach out into that long back. Bring your gaze down to the floor. Good, and from here, let's bring our left elbow across towards our right knee if we can. And you can bring your hands into prayer hands if you want, letting yourself come into twist there. And then come on back with the hands to come to your shins again. Let yourself center out. And we're going to bring the right elbow over towards the left knee. And again, you can bring your hands up into prayer hands. And then we'll bring the hands back to the shins again. Find that long back again. And we're going to step the right foot back and come into lunge. And inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog pose. So walk to the tops of the toes a couple of times here. And really take your time. So as you press into your toenails and you let yourself point your foot, just be mindful. Appreciate your toes too for a second, right? Good. And then finish off. Come on back into your full dog. Spread your fingers nice and wide. Feel your elbows hugging towards each other and reach back equally through your sitting bones. And on the next inhale, we'll come on out to plank. Once you're in plank, bend your elbows a tiny little bit in towards each other, not far. Don't drop into the belly either. And then come back to longer arms. Press down into the floor like you're pushing it away from you. And then this time we're going to lower down that way. Now you can put your knees down first if you want to, and elbows bend all the way down to the mat. Slide onto your forearms with your elbows under your shoulders. Bring your gaze between your hands, coming into your Sphinx pose. Now, you don't have to go that high. You know that. You can bring your elbows down lower towards your waist and not come up so high. Good. And then release down. Let your arms come down alongside your body, but out where the hands are on the floor, not on your mat. So the hands are out maybe 3-4 inches away from your mat. And on your next inhale, float up into a little locust. Let yourself just float on up, using the back body here. Good. Now try to stay up with your upper body and let your legs come down. So you feel the feet on the floor, tops of the toes. One more breath. Now if you can keep the body up too, but bend your elbows, bring your hands in by your chest. And then lower back down. And we're going to make our way back to down dog from there, whether you go through a full or a half push-up or back through your hands and knees. So bend both your knees in dog. Feel your elbows hugging towards each other. Really reach back through your sitting bones. And then walk your dog a little bit. Let one leg come straight. Take your time to switch to the other side so that you're really easily letting that back of that long leg get a nice stretch there. And then let's finish back in our full dog. And we'll bring the right foot forward to come into lunge. And then we'll come on back into standing forward bend. Feet right underneath us. If you're able to release your hands to your elbows, do. If it's too much, don't do it. Use support. And as you inhale, feel the ribs expanding, maybe even feeling those front ribs pressing into your thighs. And on your exhales, just imagine the top of the head getting closer towards the ground. One more nice full breath. And then let's bring our hands up to our hips. Bend your knees, rise on up to standing. We'll inhale the arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Let's unfold our arms. Bring your hands behind you and clasp them. And at first, just let your elbows be really bent, right? So your hands are more like, above your tailbone, more like at your sacrum there. And then softly let the elbows squeeze a little towards each other. So you feel a little more openness through the front ribs. But try not to hyperextend, right? Keep the tailbone reaching down towards between your heels. Good, and then let the arms slide down longer. And now we're going to inhale and let the hands and the arms come a little off our back. And when we exhale, we're going to let them come back down. And this may not be a big movement at all. Inhaling, the hands, the arms come off the back a little. Exhale, they come back down. And inhale again. They come back a little bit, maybe even farther. And then release them all the way back down. Take a nice inhale with the hands down. And as you exhale, we're going to fold forward. Now, this is optional. Whether you fold all the way and bring the arms off the back or not is up to you. Use support if you'd rather. One more breath. And then we'll let our arms release on down. Let your next inhale help you find that flat back. And we're going to step left foot back to come into lunge here. And inhale. Exhale into that downward facing dog pose. Walk your dog a little bit. Actually, walk your dog, but as you do, let each step take you a little bit wider and a little bit wider with your feet. A little bit wider until you kind of walk closer towards the outside edges of your mat. You're still walking though. And then see if once you've kind of had enough of that you can walk yourself back in. So just take your time, one step at a time. And if you're back in your full dog, let yourself stay there. If not, keep walking back till you're there. Hug your elbows in towards each other. Really reach back through your sitting bones. Good, let's come on out to plank here now. See if you can lift your right foot up in the air, a little three-legged plank. And then lower it and lift your left foot up in the air. And then come back to your full plank. And now, before you lower, see if you can press into your toes and come forward just a little bit, like about a half an inch or inch. And then lower down, elbows right by the ribs. And let's come into a little cobra, and that might be just up a little with your body here, hands barely being used, or you might want to press all the way up into your cobra pose. Elbows hugging in towards the ribs. From here, we're going to shift back into pose of a child. So letting yourself release back, big toes together, knees apart. Once you're there, let your hands walk over towards the right. And just breathe there. Really, once you get as far as you want to go, let your head relax and breathe into the left ribs. And then walk back through center, and we're going to walk over to the left. And again, breathe into the right ribs here. Good. And then come on back into center with the hands. And we're going to come on up to all fours, curl our toes under, and reach back into down dog. And left foot will come forward this time to come into lunge. And then we'll come on back into standing forward bent. So take your time, be mindful. Again, use whatever support you need. If you need to move around a little bit, walk a little bit in your forward bend, or let your torso shift a little bit, kind of rocking side to side. Just allow yourself to let your body kind of do what it needs to find comfort in the pose and release, right? And then we'll let our hands come on up to our hips. We'll bend our knees. We're going to rise on up and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. Let's inhale our hands right up through the midline. Exhale, folding forward into your standing forward bend. Let your inhale lengthen your spine. Exhale, right foot back to lunge. And inhale. Exhale into your down dog. Let your inhale bring you to plank. Let your exhale lower you down. And inhale into your cobra. Exhale back to down dog. Inhale. Exhale right foot forward to lunge. And inhale. Exhale to your standing forward bend. Bend the knees rising all the way up to the top. And on the exhale, we're going to fold forward. Inhale, nice long back. Exhale, left foot back to lunge. And inhale. Exhale, downward dog. Let your inhale carry you to plank. Your exhale will lower you down. And inhale into your cobra. Exhale back to down dog. Inhale. Exhale, left foot forward to lunge. And inhale. Exhale to your standing forward bend. Bend the knees, rising all the way up. And on the exhale, we're going to fold forward. Inhale into that long back. Let's walk or jump into dog. So take your time, get back into your down dog. Set your feet there. And now just for fun, on your inhale, come out to plank. And then keep moving through to a little up dog. Now that might mean just a little bit. You can still stay looking down when your hips can barely come down, or you can come all the way through. Stay up with the toes curled under if you can. And then we'll come back to dog again. So let's do that again. Coming out to plank, through to your up dog if you can. And then back to down dog. And then one more time. Coming out to that plank and moving through to that up dog. And then back to our downward facing dog. Good. From here, we're going to bring the left foot forward. And we're coming up for warrior two. Have both your blocks handy there. Might need a blanket too. So if you have a blanket, you might want to keep it there handy. And go ahead and bend that front knee. Take your time. Find that alignment of that front knee there. Look down at it. Actually, bring your left hand onto the top of your left thigh somehow. And rise your right arm up. You're looking down at your left knee or foot. Now, just for a second, lean a little bit over that leg. Just a little bit. And then come on back up to warrior two. Start to reach your arms into your warrior two arms. Reaching back through the right fingertips forward through the left. Feel the feet in the floor. Let yourself feel as open as you can across your chest, your upper back. Feeling that equality between the legs. Good. And now bring your right arm down. Fold that right arm behind you on your low back. Turn your left palm up and inhale. Reach up. Really feel now. See if you can imagine the ribs expanding on that side. Like more than usual with your breath. One more breath. And on the exhale, we're going to come into side angle. So keep that right arm behind you if you can at first. And then turn to look at your left foot. You've got your elbow there above your knee. Turn your left palm up. Spread your fingers and press down into that forearm there on your thigh. So you're very lengthened out. Now if you can, turn your head to look towards the long edge of your mat. And then you can decide if you want to bring that right arm in front of your chest and swing it on up into line with that right side of the body. Now keep pressing down into your forearm there. Draw your outer left hip back. Enjoy. Reach as long as you can in that right side of the body. Feel your side waist. Feel length through the body there. Good. We're going to turn to face the floor. We're going to come into lunge with our hands to the blocks of the floor. Take your time there. And then walk your hands to the inside of that left foot. Turn your left toes out slightly towards the left front corner of your mat. Now you can be up on blocks. You may decide to keep your knee up and stay up with your hands, or you may decide to keep that knee up if you can and put your forearms down so that you're down a little bit lower. That is totally up to you. Don't force it. Stay up if you need any height you need to be. Good. And now we're going to lower that back knee down to the floor and press into the top of the toes there. So feel your toenails of your right foot pressing into the ground. Let yourself enjoy, Everybody's hips are different. Some people like to roll to the pinky toe side of this left foot here. That is so not for everybody's hip. But if it feels good to you, you can roll to the outside edge of that left foot there. And that'll let the knee go a little farther out and down, but that's really optional. One more breath. And now we're going to shift our hips back, and you might want to grab your blocks and bring your hands to either side of that front left leg as it lengthens out here now. And maybe let your hands, or your blocks, whichever you have, walk out farther in front of you so that you're really lengthened out over that inner thigh. Take your time to release the hips. Some people's knees feel better to be right over this hip, right over your right knee. Some people like to shift hips back because that feels even better. It's up to you. That really has to do with how your knee feels too. Good. Take your time. Feel the left heel drawing back towards you a little bit. You're very engaged in that left leg. One more breath. And now, shift forward and let your back knee stay on the floor. Shift forward just right from there and bend that left knee. Let yourself feel that openness through the front of that right hip again. Maybe even a little deeper. Now it is up to you. You can just stay here for a breath. You may decide to shift back, straighten that front leg out, and come towards a little bit of a split. If that feels good for you, do it. And if not, don't do it. Let yourself be where you can. Enjoy coming into where you can, opening through the front of the right hip. And then we're going to slowly shift our hips back, bring our left leg back. Come into child's pose for a breath here. Let yourself release into child's pose. Arms overhead, but really let them reach out long. Hug your elbows towards each other. And then inhale up to all fours. Curl your toes under. Come into your down dog. And from here, come on out to that plank. See if you can move through to your up dog again. If not, don't do it. And then make your way back to dog. And then this time, come on out again to that plank. Move through to up dog. See if you can go to the tops of your toes, 1 foot at a time in your up dog instead of toes curled under. And then come on back into down dog. And you're on your own for a second. If you want to do more of those, do. Or if you feel like you want to do vinyasa, move through chaturanga or put your knees down, do. Good. So finish off and we'll meet back in down dog. And from here, we'll bring our right foot forward. Again, you know what you need handy. Coming into warrior two. Lining up those heels. And letting your right knee bend and take your time. Let your right hand rest however feels good on your thigh there. And you're looking down at your right knee or your right foot, toes, doesn't matter. Get your left arm up. Let yourself just feel really lengthened through that left side of the body. Lean a little tiny bit over that thigh. Feel that outer right hip drawing back. And then we're going to come into warrior two, letting ourselves reach out through the fingertips. Feeling that sense of ease, right? Tops of the shoulders released. Arms being held up from underneath. Fingertips reaching equally away from the midline. Good. One more breath. Feel the feet pressing away from each other like you're trying to lengthen your mat with your feet. And then we'll follow the left arm behind us. We're going to turn that right palm up and inhale and reach way up. And now again, imagine you're just breathing into the right ribs and they're getting so much farther apart than usual. All those little intercostal muscles, just with the breath coming there, getting a nice stretch. And on your next exhale, bring your right forearm down. Keep your left hand behind you. Now you're above the knee, there with your elbow. Spread that right hand as the palm faces up. Let yourself really enjoy. And then turn to look towards the long edge of your mat. And if you want to add that arm, it can swing on up there in front of your chest and up into line. Keep pressing down into that right forearm. Draw your outer right hip back. Enjoy that length through both sides of the body. Beautiful. And one more breath here. And we're going to turn to look at the floor and come down with our hands to lunge. So you may want to get your blocks, you may not. Once you get into the lunge, let the hands come to the inside of that right foot. Turn your toes out towards the front corner of your mat. So there's a little bit of a turnout. Don't overdo, let it feel good. And you can stay up just like this for a couple of breaths. Or you can come down to forearms if you want with the knee up. That's up to you. Just be mindful. Let it feel really good. Good. And now when you get ready to lower that back knee down, if you need a blanket underneath it, put it under there. Come to the top of your left toes there, your toenails, press down into the ground. And again, just enjoy opening through the front of the left hip. Now, if you like rolling a little bit to the outside of that right foot, again, that is not in everybody's hip. So don't force it. It's like you roll to the pinky toe side of the whole foot is on the floor, the side of the foot. And now, bring the foot back. If it was rolled, bring your hands here to either side of that front foot, whether you're on blocks or on the floor with your hands, and shift your hips back for that long right leg. So walk your hands out, whether they're on blocks or the floor, and extend your torso out over that front leg. And press gently into the ball of the foot. Let yourself enjoy feeling your hamstring. But of course, if you draw that right heel back towards your sitting bone, you're going to feel your thigh engaging. The whole leg is engaged, but oh man, it's a great openness for the hamstring here. Good. One more breath. And now, keep your right foot where it is as you shift forward and bend that knee, and let your hips come forward and maybe a little down and press into the top of the foot. So there you are again, really deeply into the front of your left hip. Now, coming in towards those splits is totally optional. You don't have to do it. You can shift back, have your blocks under your hands, maybe straighten that front leg out. You've got full control. You don't have to go any lower than you want. You don't have to go at all in towards the split. You be where you can. Good. And then we're going to bring that right foot back, the hardest part. Bring it all the way back to come down to your knees and down into your child's pose. Reach your arms long overhead in child's pose. Hug your elbows towards each other. And on your inhale, come up to all fours. Curl your toes under and come on back into down dog. And let's inhale our way out to plank. See if you can do a little side plank on your right hand down. You can do a full side plank or a little version, putting your right knee down. And then we'll come on back down and we'll go to the other side. Left hand is your support. Just briefly reaching up. You can do either side you want, and then come on back down. And walk back into down dog now. Reach your hips back and keep walking with your legs, your feet. Walk, walk, walk. Shift your hips side to side. Good. And then see if you can make circles with your hips. So they go back and to the side, they come forward so you get a little more over your hands. And then you can shift to the other side, just circling a little bit. Good. Come back in your full dog. Do anything you want right now before we do the other sequencing. So if you need to come into another vinyasa or kriya, go for it. Good. And then we'll meet back in down dog. And from here, we will bring our left foot forward. We're coming up for warrior one this time. So settling into that back foot arranging where it feels good for you. Let your hands come gently to meet in front of your heart. Go ahead and be really easy about getting aligned with that back foot. Right? So if you need to change the angle a little bit of the back foot, do it. Feel the arches of both feet lifting up. Now, if you can, think of lifting your toes up, which is very telling, right? And then let the toes softly come on back down. And keeping your hands together, let's inhale the hands right up through the midline. And then we're going to exhale them right back down through the midline. So inhaling, hands stay together, feel that connection as you rise, only as high as your shoulders allow. Exhaling, releasing back down. And then inhaling again. Now this time, you decide how you want your arms for warrior one. You can clasp and send your pointer finger up, or you can separate. Whatever feels good for your shoulders today. Bring that gaze up. Let yourself feel the feet in the floor. Feel the lift in the belly and that reaching of your right sitting bone down towards your right heel. Remember, your tailbone is reaching back a little bit in your warrior one. Good. One more breath. And then we're going to release our arms on down. We're going to turn our feet more parallel to the long edge of our mat. Adjust your stance a little bit. And then hike your heels inward and your toes outward for a little goddess here. So just to prepare, rather than going and staying, bend your knees and then come up again. A few times, right? So knees are coming out over the center of the feet. If you have any doubt if that's what your knees are doing, you can look, right? So you can make sure that the knees aren't coming inward, but they're really reaching out over the center of the feet. Good. And now come on down, if you can. Bring your arms out and come into goddess arms, bending the elbows to 90 degrees. Spread your fingers. Feel your tailbone dropping down. And then bring your left arm over your right. Give yourself a hug. You may come into eagle wrap or not. That's up to you. So if it feels good to send the backs of the hands towards each other, coming into eagle do. Take your time. Good. Now as we unwrap the arms, come into straighter legs. Let your hands come on down for a second. Release. And then bend your knees. Bring your arms back to goddess arms. Bend the knees, finding that full goddess. And bring your right arm on top of your left. Give yourself a hug if you'd rather. Come into the eagle or half eagle wrap if you choose. Tailbone is still dropping down. Good. One more breath. And now, come into straighter legs. Bring your arms on down. We're going to turn our feet more parallel, toes forward, and come on into your wide-legged forward bend. So hands are onto blocks of the floor, and go ahead and let one knee at a time bend. Take your time. And you may even decide you want to turn your toes out a little bit and bend one knee at a time if that feels good. You know, just adjust, doing what feels really comfortable for your body here out of those goddess poses into this nice wide-legged stance. And then, of course, when you feel ready to set yourself up in the pose to be with your breath, use what you need. If you like blocks under your head, or if you like blocks underneath your forearms or your hands, use them. If you feel like you want to let yourself change your stance a little bit once you get down there and you're like, oh, I want to be wider or I want to be less wide, then do. And now really focusing just on your breaths. Just letting the inhales and exhales become more even. If it's possible to let your exhales extend out a little bit longer than your inhales, do. Good. One more full, complete deep breath. In and out. And we are going to walk ourselves back over towards our left foot. So take your time as you come on back into that lunge and make your way back into down dog. Walk to the tops of your feet a couple of times, pressing into the top of the toes like we did right at the beginning of coming into all this. And then you're on your own. You want to put your knees down, do it. You want to come into plank. Maybe you just want to stay in dog, right? Just ease your way into what feels good for you. Paying attention to how your body feels. Good. And then we're going to meet back in our downward facing dog pose. And this time we will bring the right foot forward, and we're coming up for warrior one on the other side. So again, getting that back foot in that place where you're okay to be, feeling open across that left, front of that left hip, hands to your heart there at first, so you're squaring off, getting your shoulders around, and take your time, let yourself be mindful, bring the gaze where it's comfortable for you to be. And then we'll start to just inhale the hands right up through the midline again, only as high as your shoulders allow. And on the exhale, they'll come right back down in to be in front of the chest, right that place they want to plug in. And then again, inhaling the hands up. And exhaling, letting them come down. And this time, once you've inhaled your hands up, you let them do what they want. So they can come apart. You can clasp your hands if you want. Send your pointer finger up. Find that lift at the base of your shoulder blades. Feel the tailbone reaching back towards that back heel a little bit, so you're not trying to tuck your tailbone forward. Ease in the low back. Openness in the front of the body. Beautiful. One more breath. And then we'll release our arms on down. We're going to turn, again, to face sideways on the mat. Turn your toes out a little bit for that goddess. Bend your knees a little bit. Once you get there, shift a little side to side. Not so much that it feels uncomfortable in your knees, but one knee comes just a little straighter and then the other, right? So you and you can almost feel like you can go lower and lower when you do that, right? So you get as low as you think you want to go. And then bring your hands down to your thighs, rise your right arm up overhead. And we're going to come into side stretch. Now you can put your left hand on your thigh. That might be enough. You can go down to your forearm on your thigh if you choose. You're solid from the waist down. We're going to rise back up, which is actually the hardest part. Right hand down on the thigh, left arm up overhead. Again, you can come into side stretch, hand giving you a little support. You can go down to your forearm if you want to. And then we're going to rise on back up to the top. Straighten your legs on out. Turn your toes forward. And then let's come on into that wide-legged forward bend. But keep your hands either on a block or the floor out in front of you. And when you're there, go ahead and bend a knee at a time with the hand staying centered in front of you. Just enough to give a little more release. And then come back into center, and we're going to add a little twist. So our hands are out in front on a block of the floor, right hand on up to the low back, and we're going to roll that shoulder up, pressing the feet gently away from each other. Feel your inner thighs releasing directly behind you. Feel your feet on the floor. And then we'll lower that right hand on back down, and we're going to switch. Left hand comes up, feet press away from each other. Let yourself come into that twist at the middle of the back. Feel the inner thighs melting backwards. Good. And then come on back down, and take your time. If you want to walk a little bit side to side, by all means, play around for just a few breaths here so that you're able to set up to be in the pose. And that might mean anything. You can do anything you need. Change your pose a little bit if you need to, how far apart your feet are. Just be mindful so that when you do finally come into the place where you know you can really let go through your upper body and you can focus entirely on your breath. You can just let yourself stay with your breaths all the way through your inhales, all the way through to the end of your exhales. And if you can, at the end of your exhales, when you think you've let all the breath out, see if you can just draw your low belly in a tiny little bit. And then you just receive your breath, inhale again. So it just kind of gets that last little bit of air out. Good. And then we're going to slowly bring our hands on back out in front so we can walk back to that right foot. Come on back into lunge and back into your downward facing dog pose. Final vinyasas or kriyas if you want to do any. So take your time. Let yourself be where you need to be. Good. And once we meet back now in down dog, we then are going to walk our feet towards the outside edges of our mat and walk our hands back so we can come into either elbows above the knees. If you're more comfortable there, do it. Or sending our hands between our feet, wrapping them around to the outside of our ankles. And you can squat down if you choose to. You know, if it feels really good to squat down, do it. If not, don't do it. Find where brings you the most release in your hips. Obviously, you don't want your knees and hips to be uncomfortable. You're trying to find release here. Good. And if you haven't played with crow pose in a while, if you're down here in this squat and you want to play a little bit, you're more than welcome to. You can bring your hands down, let yourself play with lifting your feet up a little bit if you want. Remember, just thinking of, really, it's a balance pose, right? It's really deep in the wrist. So, yeah, don't do it if your hands, your wrists tell you not to, but it can be fun to play. And then, when you're ready, come back up with your hips and get your feet right underneath you so that you've got your feet set up for mountain pose. Bend your knees a little bit. Now really focus on your feet. As you rise on up to standing, keep your focus on your feet. Inhale your arms all the way out and up overhead, but keep your focus on your feet. And then bring your hands down in front of your chest. And then start at your feet. Rising up here through the legs, thighs lifting upward, pelvis getting right there where it needs to be so that you can stack hips over ankles, shoulders over hips. Enjoy having your head up there, really floating up there on top. And then we'll we'll go ahead and let our arms release down, shake out, do whatever you need to do, move around. We are going to bring our mats into a wall. So let yourself bring your mat all the way in, short edge in. And we're going to come into hands to the wall and walk down into a dog with hands at the wall. We're close to 90-degree angle here at our hips. Now, we're all different. If your hands really bother you in this extremeness in the wrists, you can try coming to fists where you don't have any bend in the wrists at all, right? So reach back and try to feel your feet right underneath your hips so that you are in the shape of that capital letter L, because we are going to lift one of the legs up. So you really want to be solid there. Now, just in thinking of lifting your right leg up, see what wants to happen with your left leg. So if you rise the right leg back behind you, play for a second. If you have to adjust the supporting leg, do. Try not to drop your head down. Try to look right down at the floor. Maybe even towards the front of your mat and feel a little bit more of an uplift. Beautiful. Now put that foot down and we're going to go the other side. So everybody found their alignment there. Pinky toe faces down. Spread the fingers wide. Feel like you're equal between your hands, between your arms. Sometimes it's better in this pose to have your hands a little farther apart. That oftentimes adjusts you in a really good way. Nice, nice. Everybody's aligned. Okay, so come back down. Now keep your feet where they are and just bring your hands off the wall and stand up. All right, so you're out here from the wall. Feels like a long way away, right? Bring your arms up overhead, and from here, we're going to think about putting our right foot behind us and coming into Warrior 3 from standing, okay? So as the right leg goes back, you're going to reach towards the wall. Let yourself come on in to hands to the wall and find your Warrior 3 there. You can still use the wall. That's fine. Obviously, if you don't want to, you can put your hands to your heart and try to come from standing into Warrior 3. Good. So you can play a little bit if you need to step back from the wall. And you can also switch legs whenever you want. So kind of play, make sure you do try both legs. If you are wanting to work a little bit on balance, then do. Remember, think of the pinky toe facing down. Hips are more level in Warrior 3. It's not that stacking like you do in Half Moon. It's nice to have the wall there though, isn't it? I made the mistake of saying dive towards the wall in a class. And this one woman told me she was really afraid of diving, and that was not a good thing to say to her. So, so take your time. Good. And once you feel pretty equal on both your legs, come on up, step back to the wall for a second, and then walk your feet out. So maybe your heels are like 12 inches away from the wall. See if you can then bring your hands behind you and clasp them. So don't crush them into the wall there. Your hips have to stay a little away. But then start to straighten your legs out. Send your hips forward. Let yourself just feel open here across your chest. Back of the head is supported. You know, and if this is too much, if you feel too much in your low back here, get closer to the wall before you do it. So you can get closer to the wall and not have so much going on. Or you can go a little farther from the wall and have a little bit more, right? So you just got to find what works for you. You feel these top buttock muscles reaching down. You don't feel any kind of compression in your low back. You can have your hands stay there, or some of you might want to rise your arms up overhead. You can put your thumbs to the wall and turn your palms towards each other if that feels better in your shoulders. Or you can put the backs of your hands on the wall. You know, everything's different in the shoulders. If you want to bring your head off the wall and look up a little bit more, you can. So that is a pretty deep back bend. Be mindful. If you even want to walk further and bring your hands like you're going to walk down the wall a little bit, you can. Right? That's up to you. That is so not for everybody, right? Whew. So come on away from the wall again. Put your back to the wall. Bend your knees now like you're doing sitting in a chair. And now let everything just even out. Now this is up to you. might even want to come forward and elbows above knees stay there, or you might want to straighten your legs out and fold over them. Now, if anybody wants to do that extreme standing forward bend where you turn around and put your back into the wall, right, like this, you can. Just remember, arms can rise up if you're doing this one. Just remember, this is really extreme. It doesn't seem like it until you come out of it. So don't do it. Stay with your back to the wall the other way, or let yourself feel the shoulders releasing into the wall if you're this way. Good. And now really, when you come out of this, if you're leaning into the wall like that, step back and take your time as you come up. Be mindful, because you might be kind of dizzy. It's that support of the wall back there that really gets your head. Oh, but it's fun. It feels good. So we're going to come down to our mats. Get your straps handy though. Have your strap handy. And we're going to come all the way down onto our backs on the floor. And just bring your knees in for a second into a bit of a happy baby pose, or maybe it sounds better to do a Baddha Konasana. If you'd rather do that, do. Just let it feel good. And then release your knees back in towards the chest. Hug them a little bit in. You might even want to bring your face up to your knees and round up into a little ball. And then bring your feet back down. Get a hold of your straps here, and let's bring the strap onto the ball of our right foot. Now, if you can, even the strap out. Go all the way to the ends of the strap with your hands, and let your hands come up like into a wide V. And you can bend the right knee. You can let yourself, don't force anything in your leg. Just let yourself enjoy opening here across your chest. Breathe. Good. And then go ahead and hold the strap however you want. You might want to hold up closer to your foot. You might want to bend your elbows more. Start to extend your left leg down long on the floor. Press the ball of the right foot into the strap. Enjoy. Now remember, you don't want to pull. No pulling sensation. It's where the sit bone is there on your right leg, where the hamstring attaches. So take your time and breathe. Just feel the weight of your arms. Feel your shoulders releasing towards the ground. Doesn't matter whether your leg is farther away from you, whether the knee's a tiny bit bent or it's straighter, doesn't matter. And then bring both ends of the strap into your right hand. Let your left hand release down to your left hip and open the leg out to the right. So this is different for all of us, how far we go. Rotate that right heel up a little bit. Press into the strap with the ball of your foot. And then bring the leg back up to the top. Let your left hand come over and get your straps. And then stretch your right arm out beside you. And come just an inch or two. You'll feel a little bit going on there. Remember, how close your leg is towards your torso makes a really big difference in this pose, right? So if you usually have a lot of flexibility to pull your leg in close to you, maybe try it a little bit lower down so that when the leg comes across, it feels different. That's up to you. You can come as deep in towards that twist as you choose. You know that. Or you can go just barely. Good. And then come on back up to the top. Bend that left knee. Put the foot on the floor. Good. And then we're going to put the left foot on up in the strap and put the right foot on the floor. So at first, keep the right knee bent and the foot on the floor. And see if you can hold the ends of the straps again out beside you into that wideness across your chest, but you're holding the ends of the straps and it feels really good. Well, if you have a shorter strap, it's a little different. And then Take your time and find where you like to hold on your strap. And start to, when you're ready, lengthen that right leg down long on the floor. So you're pressing gently into the ball of the foot there. Letting yourself, again, not feel a pulling sensation on your sitting bone of that left leg, right? There's a stretch, but it's a big difference in feeling like you're pulling, and you do not want to pull that part of where your hamstring attaches. So take your time, one more breath there. And then bring both ends of the strap into your left hand, right hand on your right hip. We're going to open to the left, so coming into that inner thigh. Pressing gently into the strap with the ball of your foot. Feeling grounded through that right side. Good. And then come back up to the top with that leg. Switch your hands on your straps. Stretch your left arm out beside you as you come over a little bit or more. So, 2 inches is enough to feel a lot in the outside of your leg and your outer hamstring and your IT band, right? Of course, if you go deeper, it just changes where you feel the pose, and there's no right or wrong. Good. And when you're ready, let yourself come on back up to the top. And go ahead, take your strap off so that you can then bring your knees on into your chest. And you might want to come back to that happy baby pose again. It might feel good to come into Baddha Konasana, the soles of the feet towards each other. It can be any number of things actually that sound good to you. You need another twist, a little kind of counter twist out of those deep twists, do it, or anything else at all, anything. Maybe coming into Shavasana sounds like the best idea. And remember, guys, if you want to try in Shavasana to lie back in a different way, to use the wall, of course, for your legs, or if you want to lie back on blocks, like in a supported fish, or on one of these little bolsters or bigger bolsters, please let me know. I can set you up so that you have support. And let me bring you a blanket if you need. So if you need a blanket, even just for your feet. If you need a bolster for underneath your knees. If you need anything at all, really. And just be with your breath. It'd be nice, wouldn't it, if we could just flip a switch and say, okay, relax, you're done, relax. But it does take a little bit of focus. It takes the focus of watching your breath coming in and going out. And it takes renewing that focus over and over and over again, because your mind is always going to wander off. So just be gentle with yourself. If you're off into thinking and you realize it, just softly come back to your breath again. When you wander off again, do the same thing over and over and over. And it gets easier, and you do find these little quiet places that you really hardly know they're there before they're gone. But just give yourself these few minutes to enjoy. And give your body and your brain time to benefit from all you just did, as you allow yourself to completely and fully relax. feel the ground underneath you supporting you again. And allowing your breath now to deepen a little bit, not forcing, just starting to accept your breaths in and out a little bit deeper. Feel that bringing energy back to you so that your fingers and your toes almost feel like a little tingly and wanting to move again, and your hands, your feet. And of course, if moving through your wrists, your ankles by circling your feet and your hands a bit feels good too. And just take your time as you move up into the body, up through your arms and legs, and moving the way that's comfortable, staying on your back if you feel better to stay cradled there on your back, or if you feel better to roll onto either your right or your left side too. Of course, be easy when you get ready to rise up, feeling like you're floating your way up. If your eyes can stay gently closed, just letting yourself find the most comfortable way for you to sit once you get up. You can stretch your legs or grab blankets to sit on or cross your legs. But let your eyes be closed gently. Let yourself enjoy feeling the sitting bones reaching down and the top of your head gently reaching upward. So you can feel all that room to breathe. You can feel your belly. You can even maybe come into a couple of 3-part breaths. And on your next exhale, let your hands come gently together there in front of your chest. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste.